Steven, can we get past this whole script thing? Like, it was funny a year ago when Arian Foster was kind of just, messing around on a Barstool podcast and saying that the NFL is scripted. But now the NFL has really leaned into the joke a little bit too much, and they made a whole commercial about it. And I got to ask, does anybody think that the NFL scripted Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles 4 snaps into the season?
He definitely didn't.
Good Lord.
Yeah. You know what? Let's blame Keegan-Michael Key. I think we do that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that commercial at all.
It's going to get old. It's going to get old after a while. It was funny once. I thought, like, it's a fun idea for a little skit, for a little commercial, but to run it all the time, which they're going to do through the season, it's going to get old after we see the 15th time where Mama Kelsey's trying to get at Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and also, if I'm Daddy Kelsey, he's around, I would be like, what the hell's this about?
Oh, the Kelseys, I don't know them personally, but I feel
But you feel like you do after listening to the pod.
I do. I feel like I know Ed, and I can't remember her first name. I just call her
Donna.
Donna, thank you.
God,
I feel like I know Ed and Donna
way too much.
Their marriage is strong to where he won't think, and he won't think of that either way. He's probably just like, whatever.
Yeah, but still, I'm like, hey, come on, Donna. Anyway, we will get to it all. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. I love that the football is back. I really love that it's this time of year, and I get excited about the NFL season and week 1 starting. And I thought all the games were exciting for the most part, and it's just exciting to have 17 more weeks of this. But I got to be honest. Is there any way we could just maybe go back at some kind of hot tub time machine and just redo the start of the season? Because I don't know about you, Steven. I feel really bummed out about this Rodgers injury.
Wow.
And it may just be that I've invested too much time in it.
Yeah.
It may just be that we were all just anticipating this. But this is fucking devastating to me, at least. Like,
yeah.
Like,
knowing that you were so invested in it, I should have been a better friend to check up on you to see how you were doing mentally, considering you spent a lot of your summer getting annoyed with Aaron Rodgers, and he hurts himself. Oh, well, not hurts himself. He gets hurt on the 4th snap of the game.
Yeah, I was thinking that last night after the game was over, and I was just watching the post-game stuff, and I was like, good God.
Yeah.
Did I waste the last 6 months of my life?
We all did. Everyone. Well, that's the crazy part is there was so much buzz around this team, and if they weren't featured on Hard Knocks, I don't think we'd feel the same way, because we really got invested in that whole thing. Like, would we care about some undrafted free agent rookie if he had a punt return touchdown?
No.
Yeah, sure. We might, we might, if it was on Monday Night Football, we might think it's really cool, but we felt that personal connection to Xavier Gipson just because he had that moment in that last episode. And it's kind of the same thing with Rodgers, and just seeing how all the younger guys looked up to him. Like, they're this team that they have this really well-rounded roster. They got a lot of young talent, Quinnen Williams, even though he's an absolute beast, still relatively young in the game. I mean, he's 25 years old. Garrett Wilson, I mean, that catch that he made is one of the sickest catches I've ever seen. I don't know how a hand can do that. I'm like, I don't think it's hyperbole to call that catch of the year, but a potential catch of the year candidate with that touchdown in the end zone, even though it was off a bad throw. But back to the point, like, when they looked at Aaron Rodgers, they felt like they were looking at their savior.
Yeah.
and he goes down right away. And it's one of those moments. I'm not a big yeller when I'm on my own watching games, which I was yesterday. And I think I was watching and cooking. And then I just see, I'm watching each play on that drive. And, I see that Bills defensive line get to him. I'm oof, first time. Ooh, second time, geez, this offensive line is going to struggle. And then when he was just standing there just looking back at the sideline, you knew something was up. Like he just did not look ready for a game, and it deflated everything. It really was the crappiest end to week 1 that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that we will have still a football season. Like it's not over. It just started. But I will say about maybe 25% of it just got less interesting, to be completely honest.
25%, really?
Yeah,
Why is
because
that?
how many times are they on national TV? 5 times.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
all these games next week in Dallas, when they play the Chiefs,
that's a
when they
good
play
point.
the Eagles, it's just going to be a constant reminder of what could have been. So just the events of the night. Um, we had Monday Night Football up in the studio. We're finishing the end of Tolbert and Copes, and I see Aaron Rodgers run out on the field with with American flag. Um, and Method Man introduces him. He just goes out to the roar of the crowd. There's so much expectation. You brought it up, Steven. Hard Knocks, everything this offseason. 2 shows that I watched. And I'm not going to go full Mike Greenberg here and Rich Eisen, just lose my mind, because I feel for the actual Jets fans that waited for this and feel like their team is cursed. And I'll get to that in a little bit of if teams are cursed or not. But goddamn. And he goes out and he dabs up who's from The Office?
Brian Baumgartner.
Yeah, but what's his character's name on The Office?
Kevin.
Kevin. And it like his own like personal like John Candy moment. Like
Yeah.
Joe Montana's like, oh, there's John Candy. Like he just goes, hey, there's Kevin from The Office. Let me go say hi to him. And they know each other.
Yeah.
Um, from everything. I thought that Aaron Rodgers totally changed his image this offseason. Everyone, a few years ago with the whole interview with Pat McAfee, it was highly controversial. I understand all that. But he turned a new leaf, I thought, this year where he became more likable. And I think that everybody was interested in the story of him playing for this franchise and him having, rejuvenation in his life and his career. And to see it just all go away like that was fucking incredible and devastating and comical in a way. Like it was like I was like laughing. Like, are you serious? Not to belittle the moment because that does suck, but it was almost like just comedic irony. I'm just like, are you like this is actually like 4 snaps, 4
Right.
fucking snaps,
Right.
and
No,
it's
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 like
over.
it's dark comedy. It's dark comedy in its
It's
purest
sick, to
form.
be honest.
And ironically, the fact that he said hi to Kevin in The Office, it's a similar feeling I felt when I watched that Office episode for the first time where Kevin spilt the chili. I was like, no, Kevin, no, no. And I just felt so bad in that intro, but this one has more of a lasting effect because that's just a TV show and this is actually real life. And then, like, I was holding out hope that maybe it was like a high ankle sprain,
Yeah,
something to that effect, because it didn't look too bad. But then, slowly but surely, you hear it's the Achilles, and then you see that video
yeah.
where it shows the calf shaking. And now that we've learned through Twitter doctors that that calf shaking basically means, yeah, that's an Achilles tear.
Well, I thought this is just my own personal opinion, man, but I thought that he aggravated it 2 plays before.
Mm,
There's a play where Ed Oliver comes up
right.
and he grabs his ankle and he manages to get away and throw the incompletion. His only throw that counts for his Jet career so far. I thought that was aggravated then. And then once Leonard Floyd hit him, he popped it. And now we'll always be cautious about calf strains because this is no surprise, honestly. Like, everyone's going to talk about the turf at MetLife. I think it really had nothing to do with what happened. If you read everything that happened with Aaron Rodgers this offseason, he was battling a calf strain for most of the offseason and just
Right.
powered through it. And now I mean, after what happened last night, I think we're all pins and needles with Joe Burrow, to be completely honest. I don't know how you prevent a Achilles pop once you have a calf strain. Don't know all the details on that. But yeah, it was instant. You could tell, like, as soon as he got tackled by Leonard Floyd, I was like, well, that didn't take long. The whole talking point of this, the biggest criticism of the Jets offensive line or the biggest criticism of the Jets was their offensive line, and immediately he gets sacked. And it was the way that he got sacked and his body language. As soon as he threw the football and got up and had that face, I was like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And as soon as he fell down, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning and everybody else, we saw his reaction on Manning Cast.
Damn.
It
Yeah.
it's deflating. It's absolutely deflating, and everyone's talking about the Jets. Are they a cursed franchise? They're bringing up 1999 when Vinny Testaverde kind of had a similar situation. I think this is worse, and it's. Ugh,
I mean, it might be worse, but that's also not to take away from the 1999 thing, because I looked back and that was a roster that could have won the Super Bowl, and Vinny Testaverde was coming off his best season of his career, and I think he was 36 in 1999.
yeah.
So really, that was like the last possible chance. And then you look at him, you look at his statistics after that, and he was never the same quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also, I think that's also what's the crushing thing about this too is, man, what's the future going to look like for Rodgers? I know that he wants to play, till he's till he's maybe 42 or something like that. He turns 40 in December, but you have to think that in the back of his mind, I don't know if I should do this anymore. He might have to move on after this, or he's just not going to look like the same quarterback.
Honestly, I thought this was inevitable. If the way he looked, it's hard to explain, but with his calf strain and his body language, I think it was only a matter of time before his Achilles was going to pop, and it's just devastating. And yeah, you like do you believe in franchise being cursed? Like something can never go right for a franchise, no matter how much they do in the offseason, no matter how many additions they make. It's just some teams will never have success just based on what's happened in the past.
I have a tough time going back and forth with that.
Yeah.
You know what? Yes, because I also believe in the sports gods, and I believe that the gods reward certain teams for stuff they do on the field or on the basketball court. It's just how it works out in certain games. And I do believe that. So in turn, yeah, I guess I do believe in curses. Plus it's fascinating looking back at that Red Sox one. That whole 30 for 30 catching hell pretty much went through the whole history as to how the curse existed. And, whether it's like a situation like Bill Buckner wearing a Chicago Cubs batting glove under his regular glove as a Red Sox or something or other like that. I kind of do believe that, but I also think it's just really, 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 really bad luck. like terrible luck, about as worse of luck as you could possibly have. And in this one, and the reason we look at it as a curse is because this one doesn't feel like it was self-imposed. Like the Raiders and what they've done since 2001, since 2002, it's not necessarily a curse. It's just they've been a badly run organization.
Yeah.
And the Jets have been a pretty poorly run organization too, but lately they've been starting to find their roster. They've drafted well. They've picked up free agents, traded for Aaron Rodgers, did all the right things, got the right coach. The coaching staff is great. And now it all just really blows up. Literally, his Achilles gone.
You see, I don't believe in curses. I think it's just bad luck sometimes.
Yeah.
But last night I thought to myself, good God.
Maybe you should believe in them.
Well, honestly, I was like, I like Jets fans are just going to say like, this is what happens. But like, Jesus Christ, 4 snaps?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable and heartbreaking. I've used enough. I use enough adjectives.
And I'll say this too, like this whole thing about how I remember this Hard Knocks narrative was that Aaron Rodgers will rejuvenate Zach Wilson's career.
Yeah.
Well, with the way he looked in that game, still looks like the same old Zach Wilson to me.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment, but I have a hard time believing too that he will come back because the difference between him and Vinny Testaverde was 36 years old. And I saw other stats today of Dan Marino. he tore his Achilles in 1993 and came back for an unbelievable season in 1994. He was younger. And everyone's talking about, this is Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady swan song, going to a new team, playing with that team for maybe 3 seasons, playing in his 40s. Tom Brady never got hurt while he was with the Bucks. This is just a stroke of bad luck, extremely bad luck, and it might go down as one of the biggest what ifs of all time. I don't imagine that Rodgers wants to leave the game like this. I think that, like, I saw McAfee today on First Take talking about how he won't go out like this. He can't end his career like this. And he may not have a choice because the Achilles is one of the most excruciating injuries to come back from. Ask Klay Thompson, ask Kobe Bryant, ask DeMarcus Cousins. It's more than a year recovery. It takes a little bit more than that. So we're talking about Aaron Rodgers possibly, obviously having to do the PUP thing and coming back right when the season starts. Now, it could happen, but when you're 40 years old and you're close to retirement, I don't know if you're willing to do that again and put your body through that whole thing again. So honestly, like, anything could happen, but I'm expecting him not to come back. I'm expecting this to be the end, and I'm being very negative in that way. But you just look at, he's 40. He's going to be 40, and this may go down as one of the biggest what ifs in sports history, like along the lines of guys that went to a team, but you only got like a little glimpse. Like, the only highlights we'll ever see of Aaron Rodgers are the one preseason game he played in, which I know a lot of people were scared as hell for that, and he survived that despite Jihad Ward almost, ruining that situation. Threw a beautiful touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson, and we may never know what that actually looks like in the regular season. It may go along the lines of, what ifs of Aaron Rodgers playing with the Jets, Antonio Brown playing with the Raiders, Carlos Correa playing with the Giants, how Kevin Spacey would have been as JP Getty in a movie, the Batgirl movie, just all of these what ifs. I'm obviously joking, but it's insane to me. I could not believe that he fucking tore his Achilles 4 snaps into the season. After that, all that hype, after, God, everything in the, like, what sucks the most is that I feel like this whole offseason, like I told you, Stephen, was stupid. Like, it was basically just prolonging actual news. It was just building up hype. So even when Aaron Rodgers was going to go to the Jets, it didn't happen right away. We had to wait a couple months for the draft to happen. And then it was a whole offseason. And then we don't even know what it's going to look like. We have to wait a whole fucking year for this to happen, for him to recover. It's insane. I can't believe it actually happened. I'm still kind of in shock. And now we have to go back to Zach Wilson. And it's almost like they really shouldn't have been on Hard Knocks, because everything you watch on Hard Knocks was basically a fuck you to Zach Wilson. Like, when he comes out on the field and Aaron Rodgers is like, all the fans are cheering him, he turns to Zach Wilson like, you never experienced this before, huh? And Jeff Ulbright, or Ulbrich, whatever their defensive coordinator's name is, in the meetings saying, like, look at that throw by Aaron Rodgers. Look at that shit, guys. We don't have to worry about our offense not scoring as many points anymore. Even Robert Saleh brings it up in multiple meetings, saying last year we were just playing good defense, and I hate it when coaches come up to me and say, you guys played hard. Fuck you. I want to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And now it's back to Zach Wilson. It's a fucking Greek tragedy, honestly. It is.
Yeah.
It's a movie of, like, it's kind of like who was the soccer player in the new season of Ted Lasso?
Zava,
who kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers. They bring him in and they expect him to carry the team and be the savior, and then he leaves halfway through the season. And they realize they don't need Zava. I don't know if the Jets, I mean, they survived last night.
The case. It's not the case here. It's funny that you called it a Greek tragedy, considering he tore his Achilles. As that's the Greek god. Like, so nice tie in there. I know that was on purpose.
Totally on purpose.
You. And yeah, going back to Hard Knocks too, thinking about Saleh, I couldn't stop thinking about Saleh on the sidelines, just giddy. you know, to much to the chagrin of some people are like, all right, calm down, calm down, Salah. But like the way that he was watching Rodgers, like, can you believe we got this guy, man? Look how good he is.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. And then it all came crashing down. And, you know, that the win, you know, in overtime might have alleviated some of that sting, whatever. But, and I know people are saying, like, you got to move on. It's sports. This is what happens in sports. Yeah, sure, you got to move on, but you're not going to be able to watch the Jets this season without thinking about this injury.
Oh, yeah.
And that whatever outcome happens in some games probably would have been different with him under center. It's the worst thing. And then also coming off back-to-back MVP years with the Green Bay Packers, let's be honest, they did do him dirty. Like, as far as the front office, they didn't give him any talent. And it felt like this was the first time, like, I talked about Wilson maybe having a rejuvenated career based on Hard Knocks. Well, Rodgers was going to have a rejuvenated career too, and potentially back to his MVP ways. And now we've been robbed as NFL fans in order to see that. I couldn't imagine what it was like being a Jets fan too. Like, the emotions were running so high that I didn't have it on the Manning cast at first. I had it on the main broadcast because the Manning cast, you can't really get a grasp of the atmosphere in the game. You can't really, you know, you could feel it through the TV on Monday Night Football. They did a really good job of that. And Joe Buck understands to sometimes let the actual stadium do the work, I guess, so to speak, on the broadcast. And that's what it was at the beginning. Just everything. I don't know. Maybe it was like the lighting too. Yeah. But it just felt like, all right, this is the NFL season. This is week 1 right here. Ooh, can't wait for this game. And then it was just so deflating. So deflating.
Yeah, and Marcus Thompson actually had a good line today. He filled in for Tom, and he said maybe it's worse that the Jets won today because it gives fans too much hope of what could have been. You watch that game, and they look sick on defense.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to Josh Allen in a minute here, but they look legit, like a championship caliber defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that offense, first play out the gate, Breece Hall busts a run. And, God, I thought they were going to light it up. Like, you think about it, with the amount of turnovers they had and Rodgers at quarterback, they probably would have blown out the Bills last night. But they win the game, and Robert Saleh said, you know, it's hard to win in this league, so I'll enjoy the victory tonight. But this is difficult. Like, you saw Woody Johnson looking, you know, kind of stupid with the bling on in the press box.
Yeah.
And whoever's telling him, maybe like a young grandchild telling him Rodgers is hurt. And Joe Douglas, I think in an interview a couple weeks ago, said like he still has to pinch himself that Rodgers is on the team. And now I'm sure they'll all have to pinch themselves. Like, it's crazy. Like, I saw a quote from Peter Schrager. He asked some coaches how they feel, and most of them didn't sleep last night, even though they got the win.
Yeah.
Like, they almost like, was Rodgers even here? Like, it's almost like this was a dream. Like, it was too good to be true, and the football gods just took it away because Joe Namath sold his soul to get the first Super Bowl. It's insane. Yeah, I still can't believe it, and I think that we will enjoy this NFL season. But I'll honestly say that as a football fan, I know a lot of Jets fans are hurting today, but I'm bummed out too. I really wanted to see this, and I'm a little disappointed. And we will still have a good NFL season, but part of me is like, this is not going to be fully complete, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and he was going to throw a wrench into the AFC. Like, the NFC, it seems like right now there's just one team that's atop the NFC, and that team I know we'll talk about here. But, like, with the Chiefs, the Bengals, I guess those were the two favorites. And then you got, I don't know, the Jaguars, the Chargers, all these AFC teams that seem like they're going to be perennial playoff contenders for a while. It was like this veteran, this Hall of Famer, this 4-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, was going to come in and be like, all right, young punks, let me show you how to do this quarterback thing, and let me show you how to win. And it's not going to happen anymore. And I understand that, you know, how people feel about Aaron Rodgers and, you know, all this stuff that he did in the off season. It's just, it all kind of was just a confluence of well, losing with the Packers, looking like he's kind of became a crybaby in the offseason as far as getting his money and how he treated the team. Um, and really, I think we all kind of forgot like how good of a quarterback he was, and yeah, we're just not going to see it.
No, we're not. And I feel bad for a lot of people. I feel obviously bad for Aaron Rodgers. I feel bad for Dalvin Cook, who signed to play with him, and he got stonewalled with Zach Wilson handing him off the ball. And I wonder how his, stats are going to diminish
How
now.
does he feel?
Yeah, he went to go play with him. Alan Lazard,
Randall Cobb,
Randall Cobb, Nathaniel Hackett. He's going to be judged for this season now, and wrongfully, because everything that went on with Denver, he won't be able to redeem himself. Aaron Rodgers won't be there to back him up in Denver when they go to Denver now to play the Broncos, and Sean Payton talk that shit about him.
They were even I didn't even think about that Week 5 game.
Yeah.
Damn.
And honestly, I feel bad for Robert Saleh because they still could be a playoff team. Like they have a great defense. They were so close last year, but they're back where they were again. Zach Wilson just, wasn't willing to take accountability for the offense, and that's where they wanted to upgrade. And he actually had a good quotes last night of how he needs to improve and whatnot, and so he's learning. It's just it's a movie. Like it's the guy that was always there gets shit on, and now he has to take things over again. But I feel bad for Robert Saleh because if things do not go well, this will be a huge disaster. Like Sean Payton predicted when he was in that article about Nathaniel Hackett, he brought up the 2000 Washington team that got all the free agents and failed. This could become that, where they go 8-9, 9-8, miss the playoffs. Robert Saleh's fired. Everyone loses their jobs because of this injury, and all the hope just goes away. And I honestly, this is going to be a little hyperbole, but we saw it, Kevin Durant a few years ago pop his Achilles in the NBA Finals, and that was rough. But the Warriors were down 3-1. It was going to be difficult to come back. With how hopeful Jets fans were, I got to be honest, and how little Rodgers played, this might be the most devastating injury of all time when you really think about it. I know that may be crazy and in the moment, but I can't think of anything comparable to this.
No, like this team hasn't won a Super Bowl for 55 years. 55 years. Hasn't even been to the Super Bowl in 55 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or did they make it to the Super Bowl at one point?
No, they have not been since 1968.
It was just that AFC Championship. So in 99, and then obviously in the early 2010s when they last had Mark Sanchez. Like, and going back to your point about Marcus Thompson too, with what he said, like maybe this was a bad thing to get the Jets fans' hopes up. And if that wasn't a signal or an indicator that that team is ready to win right now, and they were ready to, like, teams that are, I don't know, say like, let's just say like the Jaguars lost Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? You're not expecting the Jaguars to come back and win that sort of game. If Trevor Lawrence goes down, then they're probably done. Although Travis Etienne looked incredible. But like, and I'm not saying against the Colts, but I'm saying of a team of the caliber of the Bills, like Trevor Lawrence is their saving grace. He's their leader. He's their captain. He's everything. I don't know if the Jaguars would come back from that sort of injury. I'm just using the Jaguars as an example. Maybe that's the wrong example to use, but I'm thinking off the top of my head. But not every team would come back and win like that. Yeah. Like it's clear they're a well-coached team. They got young guys who really, really want to win, not thinking individually. Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's hyperbole, man, because it's hard to even write an NFL script about this.
Yeah, that's why I don't think anybody would write a script about that.
Imagine the commercial. It's just like Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 snaps into the game. What's wrong with you?
No. Rewrite that.
No, that's stupid.
That's why I think we need to redo, honestly. Let's just Madden.
Let's just jump in the hot tub. Let's get that crazy Russian energy drink and hot tub time machine, go back in time, and then just do it all over again.
Absolutely. Let's just unplug the Xbox and act like the season's going to start all over again.
Okay.
Like Travis Kelce hyperextending his knee. Just everything's been weird so far. But it is what it is. This is sports. This is football. It sucks, and it's really disappointing, but it is what it is. life goes on. As far as the game, Jets played very well in spite of everything. Zach Wilson came in and threw a pick to Matt Milano, but for the most part, you know, got him the victory. It wasn't really him though. Let's be completely honest. Josh Allen had a bad night, a real bad night, and I, you know, talk shit about a lot of quarterbacks on this podcast that I don't necessarily believe in them, like Lamar Jackson or other guys. I'll start giving shit towards Josh Allen. He had an abysmal game last night, and I thought that he was going to change and not be so Brett Favre like and just dumb turnovers. But it was brutal last night. 3 to the same guy. He's doing the same stuff. It feels like the offense has no rhythm to it, no scheme. It feels like it's just Ken Dorsey going out there and being like, all right, Josh, do whatever you want. And it was terrible. He was awful. And I can understand why Stephon Diggs kind of was going through his shit with him in the offseason. If this what it was really about of Josh Allen's play when it matters, then I completely understand why Stephon Diggs is upset. And he handled himself better than he did in the playoff game. He came over to him and said, "Calm down, relax." But he had a terrible game, and he needs to get this out of his system because despite Aaron Rodgers being on the Jets and everything and all the hype, I picked the Bills to win and take a big step this year. And I did not see it last night. I thought it was the same old Bills. Thought they played pretty good defense at times. They fed the ball to Stephon Diggs. Had no running game really. And Josh Allen just ran around. And it was awful.
I also think that there's going to be an issue with that wide receiver core moving forward. Gabe Davis is fine as a number 2, but they're not like a well-rounded wide receiving team. I know they got that new tight end, Dalton Kincaid or whatever, and Dawson Knox. Like they still got those guys. I understand that. But I think they needed to make some sort of addition this offseason just to give him another weapon. And they didn't really do that. I think they drafted a wide receiver in like the really late rounds, like maybe the 5th round or something. You can't rely on the 5th round wide receiver to be a starter.
Well, you know who they should have signed, right?
Well, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. It was a good idea by you, but they never did that. They're relying on James Cook, who is, you think he's going to be a really good back. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be like this, one of the top running backs in the league. No, this Bills team, they look like the same old Bills. And, Josh Allen, man, he's been getting a lot of hype around him lately. Like he's had a really busy offseason. Like you hear him talk about what he does. And I don't mean to come off as presumptuous or anything, but like the way that you hear him talk, all he focuses on in the off season is golf. He just travels and plays golf everywhere that he goes. It's not to say that he didn't work in the off season, but he seemed to be like relatively content with where they were at. And it's just like, all right, we'll pick up where we left off next year, instead of having that killer instinct of like, okay, I'm not going to do anything besides in this offseason but work. For example, I look at a guy like Max Crosby, literally spends his entire year like at the Raiders weight room, doesn't do anything else. Like he just works on trying to get better. It didn't seem like that for Josh Allen, and he's still doing the same old stuff, forcing it. Like a couple of those interceptions. There's one, I think it was the second one, maybe the third one to Jordan Whitehead, but it looked like he had a guy wide open right there after the first down marker, and he forced it into double coverage, and it was just picked off. It's the same old stuff though. And this is why he was looked at the way that he was when he started in the league. This is the Josh Allen, from those early years in 2018 when a lot of people didn't think he was ready to be an NFL quarterback. Now he could still make some throws, and he had a couple there in the closing minutes to tie the game. Eventually they had to get a field goal off of it, but even so, man, it's just sloppy play. I don't know what to make of the Bills. I really don't. And I don't want to overreact because it is week 1 and they could go on a little winning streak. But I also remember last year, the Bills regressing, and they didn't really do anything in week 1 to make you think, oh, well, they've improved on that.
Well, I remember last year they went into the Rams' house and kicked their ass, and they looked good for the early part of the season, and then they started to slide towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But last night I was really disappointed with everything. Like they're throwing passes to Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. I'm like, dude, what's the reason you signed these guys? To run them, right? So what are we doing here? The offense really just is all over the place. And I think you're onto something with I felt the same thing with Josh Allen's mentality towards the offseason because every interview I see with him is just, oh, I'm golfing. Oh, I'm dating, what's her name? Haley Steinfeld now.
Yeah.
And and to me, I think that's the bigger reason why Stephon Diggs is upset with him. I don't think anyone really got to the crust of it, but I think it's, did I say crust? I meant crutch.
The crust
Whatever
of
the
it. That's
crust
what
of
we're
it.
going to look at it. Yeah, it's the crust of it.
The old crust of it. Um, I think what it really is that Stephon Diggs is like, this guy's not taking it as seriously as he should because he's got all the talent in the world and he's just fucking around way too much on the field. And maybe it's a wake up call in week one. Maybe it was good for this to happen to him. And he's not alone. Patrick Mahomes lost. Joe Burrow lost. So he's in company with the rest of his counterparts in the AFC. But
not feeling great about my Bengals Super Bowl prediction, by the way.
There's plenty of time. Like I'm like the only thing we should freak out about is Rodgers out for the season. But as far as anything that happened in week one, I'm not ready to freak out over any outcomes.
Well, that's why we have Just Overreacting, man. We'll talk about the 49ers and the Raiders, and eventually we'll get to that. We got a long podcast coming up.
We do. What do you want to do first? You want to get to the Niners and Raiders, or what do you want to do first?
Yeah, man. Let's get to the Niners and Raiders. Let's
do Raiders first.
Raiders first. Okay.
That's what we should call this podcast going forward. Raiders first, because they get no love anymore in the Bay Area.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not here. So
yeah, I understand. What'd you think? You watched the game. Raiders win 17-16. You picked them to lose, and I'll get to that a little later. But
I did.
What'd you think of the win?
Well, a couple of things. It was really sloppy. Just a bizarre football game in general. The lack of offensive drives in this one just felt like they were going through the motions. Russ had a couple of flash plays. Yeah, and there wasn't really anyone that stood out to me as far as like the Raiders defense. Max Crosby obviously had a stack. Tyree Wilson seems to be very raw right now and needs to learn how to use his power. And I thought actually on the defensive side, I think Nate Hobbs is really underrated. From what I read, the stuff I read is like, oh, they got this guy and they got this guy and Nate Hobbs. And also I'll say this about the end of the game. And this is what I primarily want to talk about is the last 8 minutes of that game. And that tackle that Trayvon Merrick made on the Broncos player on that third down.
Samaje Perine?
Yeah, he don't make that tackle in the past. Like
nope,
that's the type of thing. That's the type of thing where it's like Raiders gonna Raider. They miss a wide open tackle there. They get the first down, and then what do you know? They're running downfield and they score a touchdown. They win the game. It felt like that happened a lot. But Trayvon Merrick actually made that tackle. And secondly, we talked about all offseason with Carr and Garoppolo. Where's the upgrade? It's more of a lateral move. Well, sure, you're sacrificing talent. You're sacrificing a deep ball. I mean, you saw that one that Carr threw to Shaheed. It's like, man, you wish Adams would have had that. And you didn't really see that from Garoppolo all game long.
Oh, what man, I haven't go up and get that, Rashid.
What I haven't seen. Nice little NFL Films reference already. Damn, it's Tuesday and you got it down.
I liked Baker Mayfield's thing too. Like you gotta get your weight up, son, or whatever you say.
Yeah, get your weight up, little boy. But as far as situational football, it seems Garoppolo is just far superior in that regard to Carr. Carr, he knew how to play the quarterback position. He's a talented guy, and I mean, like you showed on that NFL Films highlight, like he knows, like, if you're going to get this sort of look, then, like you're going to have this route wide open and I'm going to get it to you. But as far as knowing when to run, not being afraid to use your legs, like in those situations, it feels like Carr would be looking downfield, trying to find something that wasn't there. Garoppolo recognizes it really quickly And it's not just the first down run that he had to seal the game, but it was also one where he just got I think he picked up like 2 or 3 yards and the clock just kept on running. He was just trying to run it out. And
Yeah.
it's something that I haven't seen for 9 years. 9 years. Cards had so much trouble in the red zone, closing out games. And those were the strongest points of Garoppolo in that one. I'm rambling on, but it was a decent game. I'm glad they got the win in week 1. I expect them to be better in week 2, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, this is going to be the team that has sole possession of the AFC West by week 18. I'm not going to say that.
But they do now,
But
currently.
they do right now. They do at week 1. So there you go.
Only team to win week 1 in the AFC West, and we all know the season ends after 1 week, especially if you're a Jets fan. But no, there's still plenty of football to be played. I am very happy you brought up that Trayvon Merrick play because that's one of the first things I'm going to go to is in years past, that play is not made. It's anybody on the team. Misses a tackle.
Yep.
For my lifetime, the Raiders have been a poor tackling team. And he wrapped up, and that was a huge play to make it that situation. I thought Jimmy had a very efficient game. The biggest thing that we've been talking about was it an upgrade over Derek Carr? And it's not. But I agree with you, Steven. The way that he ran the offense, it's clear that he's comfortable with Josh McDaniel. And Jacoby Myers is comfortable in this scheme. Devontae Adams, I don't know if he's going to be a deep threat in this offense, but he has a role. They ran effectively with Josh Jacobs. He didn't bust for 100 yards, but he got big yards when he needed to. I thought the defense played pretty well, actually. Max Crosby had a great game, added another sack. Tyree Wilson needs to get more playing time. He needs to get used to things. Obviously, they're missing Chandler Jones and that whole situation. I don't know. I haven't heard of any updates going on with that, but from the video that I saw where he's in the dark by himself, it's disturbing, honestly. And hopefully that gets rectified. But just as far as the game, I got to be honest. Sean Payton coming back and doing an onside kick after a year away from the game, doing his what made him famous in the Super Bowl, I thought that was pretty ballsy. Didn't work, but I liked it. And I'll admit, while they didn't light up the scoreboard, it's the best I've seen of Russell Wilson since 2020.
Yeah.
I forgot what year it was, but yes. Russell Wilson looked improved. He looked like Drew Brees, honestly. Not like more older Drew Brees. Like just, dinking and dunking and finding receivers in the right spot, getting the first downs, not going deep, but playing smart. And I think the Broncos are going to be improved on offense and defense. And what really was kind of crazy to me was that the Raiders still won the game despite having very dumb mistakes, self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
I wrote some down here.
Ooh.
Let's see here. A lot of mistakes. They had 10 penalties. So did the Broncos, but they managed to survive. Is his name Jake Masterson?
Luke Masterson.
Luke Masterson. That personal foul when they made him punt. Bad play. Bad play. You survive, but bad situation to have. Jacoby Myers going backwards when he had a first down clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what the hell's up with that, but that was another shot in the foot. Jimmy throwing the pick. It wasn't his fault. You said a week ago, like Carr makes those Carr will make the throw and make you lose the game. I was going to text you if they lost, it'd be like, well, there's Jimmy throwing the interception that lost him the game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his fault. It was kind of a typical 49ers interception. He forced it in the end zone. It got tipped and picked, but didn't kill him in the end. Jimmy almost fumbling on the goal line. Didn't happen. He picked it up, but then he ended up throwing the interception. And there was the penalty on the Russell Wilson fumble that I think it was recovered by Jerry Tillery.
Yeah.
But it was knocked out because of a penalty. The Raiders could have easily lost this game. And I was texting along while it was going on. And to me, at times, I feel like they were not ready to play. They were poorly coached. But in the end, they managed to get the victory. So while I was impressed, there's also still a lot of things they got to improve on. And they may have just benefited from playing a Broncos team that is still figuring things out with a new high-profile coach. And once they get figuring out the offense, then they got to step up their game. But I thought it was a good victory, but we'll see what happens with this team.
I think what you saw is teams that will be fighting for the third spot in the AFC West. I think that's been made pretty clear. I don't think the Raiders are going to be automatically fourth. Everyone was super high on the Broncos with Sean Payton. I don't buy into that. I still don't. I don't think they're that great of a team in general. Russell Wilson needs to play out of his mind, I think, if they want to get 10 or 11 wins. Russell Wilson was great. Like he was much improved, but like still the team needs a lot of work. And the Raiders, to me, it's kind of what I expected of them, but I haven't seen them win ugly very much. You know, whenever they win, they tend to win big. You know, it's like Carr has an all-time day. Josh Jacobs would have over 100 yards rushing. You know, the defense would stink, but the defense always stunk. But you'd see the offense just outscored and it was too much for the other offense to overcome. But this one, you didn't see a lot of ugly wins during the Carr era, and this was an ugly win, and it's absolutely one they should take in week one. And hey, I'm shout out to Spadoni for bringing this up. A quarterback who swears. How about that, huh?
What did Jimmy swear?
Yeah, on the walk-off, running into the tunnel. He said, fuck yeah. And it's like, whoa, we have a quarterback who's not afraid to swear.
Yeah, that's nice.
I don't know. It's just
kind of feels like an actual Raider.
Yeah, a little bit. It's just you heard Carr in that mic'd up thing too. We need to freaking go deep, freaking run, man. And it's like I don't need that anymore.
I'm with you, but if they, if they're clean like that and play like Phillip Rivers, I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah. But I also, the question will be too is, and this was always the question I had with Jimmy when he was with the 49ers. It's a situation they weren't really in too often because their defense would keep them in games. But this was a comeback win. But what's it like when, you're down by a couple of scores and you need a big time comeback?
No, I mean, he was efficient with the offense, but it was definitely a schemed up game for Jimmy.
God, it's going to be so. How many yards per play did they have? I got to look that up. The number was a sound. I mean, Carr had, it was worse for Russell Wilson, actually. He had yards per play. Where you at? Yeah, the Raiders had 4.7 and the Broncos had 4.5.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it was a, check down, get first downs type of game. And, that's the difference is Jimmy's never going to split him out wide and go, all right, I'm taking this game over. Let's go. I'm throwing for 400 yards today. It's not happening. And, that's just what I don't know. That's the one thing that I worry about with the team going forward is it going to be enough? And we saw it on the first drive. Ernie 2 brings it up. Carr got dinged in the head. And at first I was like, God, he's already hurt. This is going to happen. Where Aiden O'Connell came in for one game, no concussion, no nothing.
It was Brian Hoyer, actually.
Oh, Brian Hoyer came in?
Yeah.
Oh, so Aiden O'Connell didn't win that backup job.
I guess not. Or they just knew that. I mean, Garoppolo didn't look like he looked like he was hurt for maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah, he had to come out because the ref was like, you got dinged in the head. We got to check you real
naturally, everyone sees Garoppolo go down. They go to Twitter immediately without even looking at the TV, look down at the computer screen, look down at the phone, and then you look up and you see Jimmy jogging off the field. Like I wasn't really worried about I was maybe for like 2 seconds, but as soon as he hopped back up, I'm like, all right, he'll be okay to get back into the game.
Yeah. And then Kareem Jackson nails Jacoby Myers. They pretty much gave the Raiders the victory when he was stopped on third down and they picked up the first down. Brutal hit. Probably get fined for that. I think Jacoby Myers is in concussion protocol. I don't know what the details are yet, but he seemed like a solid number 2. Hunter Renfrow not involved at all. I think 0 targets. You got to wonder about his future if he's not going to be involved with the offense. But time will tell.
Yeah, that's one. That's a conversation I'm really not ready to have. Like, he's got too much talent, man, but maybe they could get something for him. I don't know, but it seems he's fallen out of favor because Garoppolo to Myers, it seemed to be a pretty solid connection. I don't even think they played together on the I don't even think they played together on the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a minute since Jimmy's been on the Patriots. And I want to say Jacoby Myers, timeline doesn't add up. But He fits the scheme. It's just a matter of, like, next week, the Buffalo Bills just come off that terrible loss to the Jets. You're not going to tell me that Josh Allen's going to come back with a force, and then Jimmy Garoppolo's going to have to answer back score for score? Going to be tough.
Well, that's the That's the definition of the Raiders, isn't it? One guy struggles and then has to play the Raiders. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe he's fine. And then it's just you go back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's just the Raiders, blah, 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 whatever. It's that week that next game against the Bills, like then if the Raiders don't get a single takeaway, if they don't get a single turnover in that game, I think there's something seriously wrong because I don't think there's anyone as turnover prone as Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, but that, as you just put it, Steven, the Raiders are always a good pick-me-up for a guy that's struggling.
That they
Like
are.
Alvin Kamara, I don't think rushed for a touchdown last year until he
Yeah.
played the Raiders.
Yeah. Ryan Tannehill in that one game, he was really
Yeah.
struggling, then comes back in the second half. Who else? The Kamara one is the one that stuck
Baker
out.
Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
You and Alon called it. You guys like, oh, they picked him up on Wednesday. He's going to win the game for him. Like, no fucking chance. Sure enough, he did. 49ers, dominant effort. You got this one wrong too. You picked the Steelers.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
I know.
I picked both the Raiders and Niners, and that's what led to my victory this week. We'll get to that a little later. But Purdy looked good, man. 30-7. Niners dominate. You can make the argument they looked the best in football last week. Them and the Cowboys, who same kind of thing. 30-7, 40-0. Both were dominant efforts. But it was the first time where I like that opening drive with Purdy when he threw the touchdown pass to Ayuk. I was like, shit, this guy may be really good. Like last year, I was amazed at times by him, but I never thought to myself, all right, this is an elite quarterback. Like I thought, okay, this is Kyle's guy. Like people thought I was fucking around a year ago, and I'm like, you best believe week 1, the 2023 season is going to be Brock Purdy. And everybody's like, shut up. It's going to be Trey. I heard my dad talk about this for the longest time. I knew Brock was going to be something at least, like maybe better than people expected. But he played well. He played really well last year. But last week was the first time where I was like, wow, he's actually really good.
How did everyone get this so wrong in their evaluation of quarterbacks? I'm not saying that Brock Purdy should have been like a first-round pick in that draft, but good Lord, how did no one pick him up in maybe the 4th or 5th round? I understand there's maybe a lack of need for quarterbacks on their roster, but like this dude clearly has the skills and what it takes to be in the NFL. And what impressed me so much about the Niners compared to really every team last year, obviously we mentioned it with the Bills, and then we mentioned the Chiefs too, and the Bengals, teams that struggled that were really good last year. Even the Eagles. The Eagles didn't look great against the Patriots. They still won, but they didn't look that good. That was the only game I could watch on my flight home from LA. It was that and Bears-Packers too. Bears still stink. We didn't think about coaching as something for that team. But no, dude, like out of, they might not have had the most dominant performance because that goes to the Cowboys. The Cowboys just absolutely obliterated the New York Giants and made the Giants look pedestrian. But it felt like with the Niners, you don't want to overreact to week 1. You never do. But this is the team that I've seen for the past 3 years, scratch 2020 out of that. But the team from 2019, 2021, 2022, this is their MO. They dominate on defense. Again, didn't give up a point in the second half. They were on like a little streak last year leading into the postseason of not giving up a point in the second half. Didn't even get up a freaking yard until like however many minutes it was into the first quarter. That defense is so fast. They fly to the football. Fred Warner is outstanding. The only thing I'll say is that the Steelers' offense is so boring, so vanilla. Like they just kept on doing the same exact thing. And it's just against the 49ers defense, you got to be more creative than that. I think they're going to face better defenses, or face better offenses. But as far as the offensive side of the football, what they did to the Steelers defense is damn good.
Yeah.
Like you put up 30 points against that defense.
TJ Watt, 3 sacks.
Damn. And even that, that's the thing with the 49ers. Even a guy, when TJ Watt does that, that's the type of situation where that wrecks a game.
Yeah.
but not with the Niners. And right now, we talked about it before the season. There's so many mouths to feed. Somebody is going to get the short end of the stick. This year, it's probably going to be George Kittle, if anybody, because it seems like Brandon Ayuk has become one of their top targets. They say, "Oh, this is how the game plays out. It's just we're going with the flow of things. We just go to who's open." But it seems like Ayuk is going to get open a lot when eyes are on Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. So, and George Kittle doesn't strike me as the type of player who really cares if he's going to be getting receptions or not. So,
No.
the only people who are going to take a hit with that are those who took him in fantasy this year. My God, man, they're so damn good. Like, that's a team that's ready. Like, they look to be in midseason form. I don't like to look at week 1 teams and say, "Oh, that's who they are." But that team in week 1 in Pittsburgh, that's who they are. I didn't think that team was going to come out. That's why I had the Steelers actually winning that one. I tried to throw a curveball, thought they'd win at home considering how good they were at home. And then the 49ers hand them their worst home loss since 2006.
I'm not ready to make it an indictment on the Steelers just yet because I feel like they're playing a really good team. So I'm not going
Yeah.
to say that Kenny Pickett's going to be bad and Najee Harris and all that. I need George Pickens to be good because I drafted him in fantasy. I think they're going to be a good team. They just played a better team in the Niners, and I honestly think this is the first time where probably since 2019 where I felt the Niners offense is as good as their defense. And that's this might be the best team they've had on paper, honestly. Between McCaffrey being there, Brandon Ayuk, I think, is their number one guy. And it may just be the game plan because George Kittle was hurt for most of the week. They'll feature everybody, but Ayuk has pretty much separated himself from the rest of the guys, in my opinion. And who will know about Debo's future, but they're still going to use everybody. They probably have the best skill position group in all of football. McCaffrey makes them just that much more of a better team. He rushed for 152 yards. Like,
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan has always found a way to get the best out of subpar running backs, but having arguably one of the best in football, they're gonna dominate. And I can't say enough. Like, I know I've been skeptical about Brock Purdy and him going toe for toe against Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, but honestly, he impressed the hell out of me in that game against the Steelers. So he could be the real deal, and that's why you trade away Trey Lance. That's why you do that because of his performance. Yeah. Drake Jackson getting 3 sacks opposite Bosa. Bosa, you weren't around, but he got the huge deal. Highest paid defensive player in football, shows up, and everyone else benefits from him. If Drake Jackson is a guy that is opposite Nick Bosa and is going to get 3 sacks, I mean, if Nick Bosa wasn't going to play, I was wondering where that pass rush is going to come from. Like, they got Javon Hargrove and everything and Eric Armstead. But if all 4 of those guys, Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, even Cleveland Farrell on that pick that I want to say was the Charvarius Ward pick, he got pressure on there.
Yeah.
Like, they're right back where they should be. Like, they lost a lot of guys on defense a year ago. They're right back. And yeah, I was a little disappointed when what I saw from the Eagles. The Cowboys dominated, but the Niners are right back where they were a year ago, in my opinion. Maybe even better.
I got to look up the stats here for Trey Hendrickson. That was, 2021, or no, rather 2020 with the New Orleans Saints. I remember Trey Hendrickson just started blowing up because he was just getting these outrageous sack numbers that he hadn't gotten before in his career. And then the stats came out, and this made you kind of wary of who he was as a defensive end, but he was getting most one-on-one matchups, mostly one-on-one matchups. Like, he wasn't getting double teamed at all. And that's exactly what Drake Jackson could be going through on that defensive line. It's like, Who do you pick? What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, Eric Armstead, damn good player. Obviously Hargrave. We mentioned all of them.
Even Kinlaw.
And then there's Chris Kasarik. I want to mention Chris Kasarik, the defensive line coach. I don't think, sure, the Raiders missed out on these draft picks, but if you look at Arden Key and what he did, if you look at what he did this year, by the way, not just last year, the year before, if you look at what Cleveland Ferrell did, Like, they have built up these dudes. Like, this, there's no weak point, really. I don't know what else. Like, I still believe that Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers, did not call a creative game. He kept on going at Fred Warner. Like, why are you doing that? Don't like, Fred Warner is the best coverage linebacker in the game. It was just so bland to me. And maybe that was their bread and butter during the preseason and why they were kind of the darlings on offense. But there was no creativity there, and teams are going to need that against the 49ers. Man, this team, it's just barring injury, man. I don't see how it's either, I don't see how NFC Championship isn't the expectation with this team. Like, they're they're that good. They're the most talented.
No, I completely understand that. With the way with the way they looked, I think people should have those expectations. Yeah, they lived up to it, man. They look great, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against the Rams, because the Rams sure as hell surprised the hell out of me last week against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and last year there's also a sense with Purdy too. Back to Purdy, there's a sense of like a little bit of luck with some of these throws that he was making, because you're just like, damn, did he just heave it there? And was that, like, because you need every quarterback needs a little bit of luck nowadays.
Right.
But man, some of these throws that Purdy was making, the way that he was evading pressure, even having the wherewithal to, what do we call that? The butt fumble recovery.
What was that?
The one that he recovered on TJ Watt. Do we call that the butt fumble recovery?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Why not?
What do we call that? To have the wherewithal to even think to do that. Like, man, it's no wonder. And I'm going to keep going back to it. But the way that I don't trust the way that analysts evaluate quarterbacks in the draft anymore. It's like they focus so much on the guys who are potentially NFL ready from the start of the season that they kind of lose focus on the remaining guys and maybe don't watch as much. Maybe they weren't watching as much Iowa State at the time. I'm not even like, who were those players in the 2022? Was it just Kenny Pickett? Really? Like, there weren't many quarterbacks in that 2022 draft. How did they miss? How did anyone miss on this guy? Because it's just, I don't know if it's the thing within Kyle Shanahan's system. I don't know if it's him being comfortable there and just getting a grasp on it. It's just like the perfect marriage between head coach and quarterback. But Shanahan has his guy. And that's a scary thought.
I think when we evaluate quarterbacks, we're going with what scouts tell us. And scouts look at the big arm and all of the attributes that you want in a physical specimen when it comes to a quarterback. But no one really measures the Tom Brady stuff or the Brock Purdy stuff, or all the undrafted quarterbacks over the years, Tony Romo, just, lower level guys. No one really evaluates with the mindset of a coach, of guys that can run a scheme and have played a full 4 years in college. That stuff matters. And I think with just, we're going to look at Caleb Williams and all of the highlight plays, or Drake May and all the highlight plays. But really, it depends on the team. It depends on where they go and everything. Like Brock, this is said a million times, but if Brock Purdy went to some other team, he probably doesn't do as well. He went to the perfect system for his skill set.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's the perfect match, man. And how much more can you say? Like, really, how much more can you say about that team? And they didn't really come away with an injury.
No, they're good.
God, I like, if I'm a Niner fan, that's just my one worry. It's like, it's not even at that point. I'm watching the games to watch them win, because they're going to have one of the most dynamic offenses. I think they're just going to dominate their way through this league. But it's just that fear in the back of the mind, like, good God, just don't let any one of these guys get hurt.
Yeah. No, they look great, and we'll see how they play against the Rams. Should we? Is it time for you to own up to your bet, Steven?
Please, yes, because let's get it out the way. I'm going to bed in like an hour. I need to do this before I. Yeah, this is just awful.
Well, to show you how I prepared for the season.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was going to lose or not with the picks and everything. I beat you. I edged you out. I haven't looked at what Alon did. Alon had picks too. Did he? Let's see here. No, I don't know where I put Alon's picks. He may have beat you and me, but I beat you, thanks to a couple of picks, the Niners and the Raiders. But I was going to prep myself for anything that I had to go through come, today, when we had to do wins or wangs and I had to own up to my bet. And I Came through, Steven. There it is. The
Nice.
last dab. And to go even further. Oh, where is it? Da Bomb Evolution. Could be worse than Da Bomb
God.
Beyond Insanity.
Oh my God.
So there you know, I'm not fucking around when it comes to paying up the bets. But I had a Wingstop for the first time in a long time. I gotta say, I prepared myself a little bit better this time. Ate the wings, had my usual of half Mango Habanero, half Atomic. Finished the night. I found a trick now. I just gotta eat healthier the rest of the night. So I had myself a little chicken breast, some broccoli. Next day, wasn't that bad. It was bad still, but wasn't as bad.
So wait a second. You come off this whole thing where you can't eat wings anymore. And as soon as you dive in with the two hottest sauces that you can possibly have.
Oh no. I didn't have that on Sunday. Don't know. I had just the regular Wingstop.
Right. But you had the mango habanero and the Atomic.
Yes.
So the two hottest sauces that
Oh
they have
yes.
at that
I thought
place.
you were referring to the hot one sauces. But yes, I went all in on my usual flavors.
Why would you do that?
Because I wanted to see if I could still do it.
And you
And
can't.
I can.
All right. All right.
I still got my fastball.
Okay. Wow. Stella's got his groove back, huh?
You're damn right I do.
All right.
All right. So what are you working with? What do you got?
Yeah, it's the old one. It's the last dab triple X stuff. The
Ooh.
Apollo is the most recent one. This one is,
Yeah.
I don't know. To be honest, this is very well could be expired, but it's been in the fridge for a while. Gave it a good shake. This stuff is really hard to eat. I've had quite a few bottles of the classic before. I've had their Los Calientes, and all of that goes really well with a lot of things. This goes well with nothing. This just tastes like gas.
Water.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it just tastes like gas. Anyway, so we're going to be doing this all season long. Whoever loses in these picks has to punish themselves with hot sauce. It's just
Going on a spoon?
Yeah, it's going on a spoon. I got nothing.
There we go. All right. Take your medicine.
There you go. See that? Just
a little dab will do you.
Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Oh!
Oh my God. It's like you're turning. It's like you're turning into the mask. You're...
There's a chance I might barf.
You okay?
Yeah.
Do you have water?
Yeah, I got water.
All right. I'll do some talking now.
This is not meant to be consumed with a spoon.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Oh. I might. Oh my God.
You okay?
I don't know. We'll see.
All right. If you got to run, you let me know.
Jesse, fill my water. Fill my water. Fill it.
All right. Do you want to do do you want to do overreactions to week 1?
You, AJ Cruz, good idea. Milk. Jesse, milk. 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 Please.
Oh my God.
I hate football. I hate football so much. Overreaction.
You should just you should just hate your picks.
Yeah.
This is your fault.
I hate football. I hate it so much. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, drink that milk.
It's a little bit better. All right, I'm
All right.
okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
All right,
It's okay.
All right, give me your overreactions.
It's okay. All right. Overreaction. We're going to do this after week 1.
Okay.
And week 2. And week 3.
So all the weeks. Okay.
Every week.
Okay.
Every out of food. All right. First overreaction. Overreaction or underreaction? Just overreacting, man.
Am I that red right now?
I don't know.
Really?
The Chiefs will not be the first place team out of the AFC West this year. Overreaction or underreaction after their loss on Thursday night to the Detroit Lions?
Well, I picked the Chargers, so I think that's an underreaction.
Really?
Yeah, but I'll give my opinion on the Chargers a little bit here.
So you think that's you think the Chiefs are going to be second anyway? You saw, dude, that game was bad. Like as far as the offense, wondering what he was going to do without wide receivers. Well, when they don't catch anything, it's like, yeah, what are they going to do?
Yeah, Kadarius Toney had a terrible game. Like I told you, dude, I think that the Chiefs have major issues with their receiving core.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's an overreaction. I think the Chiefs are going to be first place in the AFC West. I think they're going to get right back to it. They look bad in week 1, but they can overcome drops.
By the way, Chris Jones, the holdout, I mean, dude, to settle for 1 year and just a little bit more cash.
Yeah, come on, agent.
Yeah.
Like, work better.
What was the point of having those 2 goons in the suite with you if they were going to get you more money?
Hey, get them a deal.
Yeah.
All right, overreaction number 2. The Bengals rushed Joe Burrow back too soon, and this offense will take a significant regression to last year.
I would think that's an overreaction. I think this Joe Burrow just didn't have any time to play in the preseason and didn't have time to practice with his teammates in training camp. I think the calf strain really did him in, and Cleveland's defense is good. They got Jim Schwartz now over there. I think that they'll be fine.
I think anything around the Bengals would be an overreaction. I just added that in there anyway. But, man, that Browns defensive line, we talked about it in our little division preview.
Yep.
Them adding Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith. Myles Garrett could be in for a depoy season. I don't think that was it might have been a product of them getting Joe Burrow back too soon, but I also think that was just a product of, look, the Browns are just a good team on defense this year. And they also got a good secondary. All right. Overreaction number 3. San Francisco 49ers will remain the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl for the remainder of the season.
Ooh.
Because they are the betting favorites right now.
I don't think that's an underreaction. I think that they may come out with a better record than the Eagles. I know it's just 1 week, but with the way that they looked and the way the Eagles looked, I'll go into it a little bit later, but the Eagles may have a little bit of a hangover. And as far as just like the best team from top to bottom, it might be the Niners. So I don't think that's I don't think that's an underreaction. I think it's an underreaction, not an overreaction.
I think it's an appropriate reaction. I think that's totally warranted. They're battle tested. They got the same roster, mostly the same coaching staff. It seems to be seamless with Steve Wilkes. Oh, it's hitting the roof of my mouth. Okay. This is a good one.
Hey, at least you held together. You held it together. You held it together better than Gal Gadot.
Yeah, well, I might. Who knows what I'm going to do after this?
She was a hot mess.
This is not going to be a great night. Rams receiver Puka Nacua, dark horse to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Underreaction. That very well could happen. He's the new Cooper Kupp in that offense when Cooper Kupp's not around.
I did not know about Puka Nacua. I just knew his name, and it was a great name. It's a great name to say. And then I saw him on the field. I was watching the highlights. I'm like, the hell? And then I looked it up, and yeah, he's 6'2", 205, 208, just like Cooper Kupp. They may have found a diamond in the rough there. And Matt Stafford looked pretty damn good.
I'll bring that
up. Okay. Both the Giants and Vikings, of course, played each other in the playoffs last year, but neither will be there this year. Overreaction or underreaction?
I agree with you. I think it's an underreaction, not just based on what I saw. I think the Vikings will be okay. They just had a bad first game against the Buccaneers. The Giants had a really bad game against the Cowboys. But I don't see either making the playoffs this year. I think they're both like 7-10 teams.
They did not look good. Falcons wide receiver Drake London will finish the season with 0 receptions.
Did he not catch a pass the first game?
He didn't catch a pass.
Yeah, I'll go a little overreaction there, but I didn't even realize that. Bijan looked good. Bijan looked good. They're still running with Tyler Algier.
Yeah, Tyler Algier. He was one of the best rookie running backs in the league last year.
So they Falcons look good defensively, and they're playing. I'll say this: all 3 rookie quarterbacks struggled, but that's bound to happen. I thought the best out of all of them was Anthony Richardson. C.J. Stroud pulling a Brett Favre and throwing the pass to himself. first career completion, crazy. But yeah, it's they're going to struggle, but they'll flash at times too.
All right, last one, overreaction, underreaction. Terry Bradshaw needs to be taken away from that pre and post game show and no longer should do highlights ever again.
Keep him on the pre and post game show. I love Terry. I'll say this: he should not be reading highlights.
All right.
In fact, he never should have been doing highlights in the first place.
Just in case anyone missed this from the week.
Excellent day by the second-year quarterback, 2016 Washington with new ownership over the Carolina of the Panthers. Anthony Richardson, fourth pick in the draft this year for the Chargers. For the Colts at quarterback. Watches last year's guy, Anthony Richardson, but that's a handoff to ETN as he takes it 26 yards. Oh my God. Jaguars, dude, I know, I got it. I'm so proud of myself. Jaguars 31-21 over the Indianapolis Colts. Now, where did that highlight? Those highlights were all over the place. Where did that come from? Sorry about that.
At first, being in that situation where I used to write shot sheets for talent and NFL Network, I'm trained to think that was my fault. Like anytime I hear a mistake on a highlight, I'm like, oh, did I do that? Did I do something wrong? Just from people at NFL Network screaming at you to get the shot sheet right. But no, Terry just had a senior moment, I guess.
Yeah. Look, man, I got all the respect in the world for him, but I don't think he needs to be doing highlights anymore.
You know what he should be doing? Just singing his little heart out of doing stand-up in Branson, Missouri.
Agreed. All right, that does it for Just Overreacting for week 1, man.
Just quick takeaways from the week that was in the first week of the NFL season.
Uh-huh.
Chargers are still the Chargers. I was thoroughly disappointed with their outcome with the Dolphins. Even though Tua had an amazing game and Tyreek Hill played his ass off. Jesus, nothing's changed. They ran the ball a lot better, although Austin Eckler, I guess, has an injury right now, so it may be Justin Kelly going forward. They didn't throw the ball down the field like I thought they were going to. Mike Williams got hurt. They didn't throw it, I think, to Quentin Johnston at all. They should have won that game, but they got sacked on the last possession. A couple blitzes from Jalen Phillips. Vic Fangio dialed it up. J.C. Jackson with the biggest bonehead mistake of the week, doing the pass interference on a Hail Mary. What the hell are you doing? And zero pass rush all game from Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. I thought these guys were supposed to tear up the league, and they're not doing it. So while Justin Herbert didn't have a bad game, I was expecting more from the Chargers. So that was kind of disappointing to me.
Did you have Brandon Staley on the hot seat?
He's on the hot seat, definitely, but I had him keeping his job because I thought they were going to win the division.
Well, because if they're not doing anything defensively, if they're still the same, it's like, man, we got the players. If you can't get the best out of them, someone else definitely can. And you know what? Screw it. We'll let Kellen Moore become the head coach and, get yourself maybe what the Dolphins have on the other side and Vic Fangio, although their defense didn't look all that great in that game. And I got to say, too, it's a product of the Dolphins offense also. Like that, that's a dynamic offense. They, because of what happened with Rodgers and because of the Bills, Dolphins very well could be the first place team in the AFC East this year.
And I would jump at the opportunity if they could go get Jonathan Taylor, because that's the one thing they're missing right now is a running game.
Yep.
Other takeaways, the Eagles look like they may have a little hangover on their hands. It's maybe a little premature to say that, but I thought Jalen Hurts looked a little rusty. That may just be the Belichick defense. I think that Nick Sirianni, after the game, saying, hey, maybe we should have played our guys more in the preseason. This is kind of – they could be fine, but there's kind of things that I noticed in the first game where I'm like, this is spelling out to be kind of a letdown this year. If they're expecting to do the same shit they did a year ago, if it's just that, then they're going to struggle. And I thought that they kind of picked up where they left off from the Super Bowl. Jalen Carter got a sack, but I thought a little bit more pass rush from the Eagles. Mac Jones looked actually pretty good. If that rookie wide receiver, I think Kenyon Booty, gets his left foot in bounds, they would have won that game probably. They would have probably scored that touchdown and go up and beat the Eagles with Tom Brady coming back. But they did enough to win. They got the pick 6 from Darius Slay, but I was not that impressed from the Eagles at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I do think they ran into the Bill Belichick buzzsaw. This dude had all offseason months to work against the Eagles offense, and this is what Belichick's good at. He's good at taking away your identity as an Eagle, as an offense, and that's what I think he did to the Eagles. Plus, I also think the Patriots have a Mac Jones problem. I don't like that. He looked okay, but I still think they have a Mac Jones problem. So
Okay.
that defense is going to keep them in games, and I think it's going to be really rough for any contending team that's going to go up against them. They're not going to. You're not just going to roll over and not pay attention and look ahead to the next week if you're playing the Patriots. I just think that's what the Eagles ran into, and their secondary did not look nearly as good as it did last year. So they need to make a significant leap if they want to look anything like they did in 2022.
Rams look a lot better than I think all of us thought they were going to be. Matthew Stafford a year ago, it may have been the elbow, but he looked great. He looked comfortable. I think he knows the names of his teammates now. Kyron Williams, making me second guess my Cam Akers selection in fantasy.
Yeah.
Everyone says that they're tanking. Sean McVay may just been like, all right, I'll come back and actually have to, we won't have the same talent we had like in the Super Bowl season. This could be reminiscent of their 2020 season where they got rid of Todd Gurley and they just came back and Sean McVay just out-schemed everybody. So it could just be that Raheem Morris and those guys just, figure things out and play with, what everyone thinks is a bunch of rookies, but they may have some talent on their hands. Who knows?
Well, can we get to the moment of the game? Actually, it might have been the moment of the week from that game. But Geno Smith with Aaron Donald breathing down his neck.
On third down, Smith, pressure comes late, and it's incomplete. That pressure coming from...
That is reminiscent of the dude from Longest Yard. Just when he has to fill in for Adam Sandler.
Wait, you talking about Brucey?
Brucey, and he screams when he gets hit. He's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, yeah.
I cannot believe Geno Smith screamed like that.
That could have been because of Aaron Donald, or it's because he wasn't happy with the way that he threw that ball. Because it was almost it could have been a pick. It could have been a pick there. So it could have been that. But I also do not blame him if he has that reaction, because I
don't know. I mean,
that humanized Geno Smith just as much as any quarterback. That's also what I found funny about the whole Sam Darnold seeing ghosts thing, with people making fun of him for it. I'm like, you really think that you'd react any differently?
Yeah,
if you were playing NFL football? Like, look at yourself in the mirror before you make fun of them. And I think there's the human element to it that made that so endearing.
No, definitely. It'd just be a funny NFL Films moment, but the fact that it was caught on mic during a game is just that much more hilarious.
We need more of that.
We do. Jordan Love actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
It's crazy that maybe he's the one we talk about more this season than Aaron Rodgers. Irony of all ironies, today in my KNBR Fantasy League, I had to drop Aaron Rodgers to pick up Jordan Love. And Jordan Love, I think, pretty much was what the Niners were expecting in Trey Lance. When I watched that game and he was throwing those passes, threw 3 touchdown passes, Aaron Jones getting in the mix as a receiver more than a running back. He ran, but he caught 2 touchdowns, or just the 1 touchdown. He looked really good, and that's what happens sometimes when guys can rest and learn. And that may, we'll look back and maybe that would have been the case for Zach Wilson to mature and be a better quarterback. He may crash and burn now because he's thrown in the fire again. But just as far as the Packers and the Bears, I thought that the Packers looked really good. I thought their defense was going to be really good this year, and that seemed to be the case. I'm not sold on Justin Fields just yet. And I think Matt LaFleur is doing good things at Green Bay, and I think that, Jordan Love resting has benefited him.
That team has a coaching problem. What the hell? Boof Busters on YouTube? How about that? We see ghosts too. Yes. What?
Well,
but
that's random as hell.
That's the most random thing that's happened on the podcast. The Bears have a coaching problem, and if
you think so, huh?
I don't know how this turned into it, but
you're not an Eberflus guy.
JT O'Sullivan has turned into like this NFL or this film guru You know,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like always
totally.
posting clips. He's all over social media. And he posted this 2-minute, 20-second video of the Bears in the red zone, and they just look lost. And then you combine that, and maybe this is just an individual problem and not a coaching problem, but those images of Chase Claypool just not even bothering to block. Like, if you go back and watch that video, this dude is so unmotivated. So maybe it's not just a coaching problem, but maybe this Bears team wasn't going to be as good as we initially thought, and this could have just been week 1, and they could improve as time goes on.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. AJ Cruz just Boof Busters is his burner. So
okay. Wow.
I thought literally just some person was watching it being like, "You want ghosts, huh?" And just created an account just for that moment.
Yeah, they like hear the keyword ghosts and they go to whichever live podcast is streaming at 8:56 West Coast time.
Yeah. Derek Carr looked like Derek Carr. I thought that he did enough to win the game, but he also did enough to lose the game at times. Threw an interception, got a terrible call where he clearly fumbled from Danico Autry, his old teammate with the Raiders. That was fumbled and returned back by, I think, Amani Hooker, who picked him off. And it was whistled an incomplete pass. Totally a fumble. But in the end, they won. But I was not impressed with Derek at all. I thought it was the same old Derek Carr.
It's the Carr that we know and love, and the Titans. Yep. And you could look at more Mike Vrabel and his lack of trust with Ryan Tannehill as to why they lost that game. I mean, they were down by 4, and he still goes for a field goal with 2 minutes 20 to go when it was 4th and 6, I think, and they were inside the red zone there. Like, Vrabel is typically an aggressive coach, but it's pretty obvious that he does not trust his quarterback. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Malik Willis or Will Levison at some point. But Carr is just, it's Derek Carr, man. He looked good at times. Obviously that Rashid Shaheed pass that we talk about, but
best name in football, by the way.
Puka Nacua is right there.
Yeah, but Puka Nacua doesn't rhyme. Wait, Puka
Nacua, it kind of rhymes.
Okay, but Rashid Shaheed is just hilarious.
New paint job, same car.
Same quote that Aram gave me watching the game. It's totally right. Same car, different paint job.
Yep. It's got the, I don't know, maybe same engine, different chassis. I don't know. The build looks different. Car guy. That's me.
We already talked about the Bengals. I think they'll be fine. Just Joe Burrow didn't practice enough in training camp, and the Browns defense threw him something new he didn't see before. I thought the Cowboys kicked ass defensively. The last thing that I'll say about Week 1 is Lamar Jackson looked a little rusty, and I wonder about how he'll play in this offense, because it seems like they reverted back a little bit to more of a running game. They've lost J.K. Dobbins to an Achilles tear himself, so that's sad. I wonder if they'll be in the Jonathan Taylor sweepstakes, but probably not. They got enough running backs. I wonder if it may just been because he's playing a new defense with D'Amico Ryans and the Texans, but he did throw a bad pick. We'll give it time, but I do wonder if he's going to have success in this new high-flying, pass-oriented offense with the Ravens.
Yeah, that's I didn't watch much of that game. I only caught highlights of that one. D'Amico Ryan's defense plays aggressive, though.
Yep.
And that rookie they have, boy, Will Anderson. He's got it, man. That guy. There's a reason why I picked him as the defensive rookie of the year. This dude, I think, is going to be an absolute stud. And just to go over a couple of things too, I think, like what we predicted from the season, I think so far came true in that Week 1. It's that Browns defensive line, that Washington defensive line, they're the reason they won that game against the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. The Commanders' offense looked terrible, but the Washington defensive line is what won them that game in a 3-play sequence where it was, I think they got a run stuff, then they got a sack, and then they got like a forced fumble and a takeaway in order to win that game. And then that Browns defensive line, and then we also mentioned this in the past, but the Falcons and the additions that they made on that offense and that secondary. Jesse Bates probably had the best week of any defender in the league. They just got him from the Bengals. And you never know, man. Like those guys from the Bengals, those safeties, like they may They may be tougher to replace than we expected. I think it was Jesse Bates, and I can't remember the other one who's just up and left. But yeah, a lot of the things that we talked about in our season preview kind of came true. It's a fun week 1, man. I'm glad football is back, except for the stupid hot sauce. AJ Cruz, yeah, look, nice guy looks like he's back on track from that hot sauce. No, I'm not. My stomach is killing me right now. Every time I mute the mic, I've been farting.
Yeah, just make sure you poop before you go to bed. You don't want to, bad situation.
Yeah. Oh.
It'll make Jesse wonder why she agreed to marry you. Before we get out of here, let's pick a game for Thursday, because I forgot to do that last week. So let's do this real quick. So you redeem yourself for next week.
Okay.
Hopefully you don't have to eat more hot sauce.
Yep.
Vikings at the Eagles. That's your Thursday night game. We'll see if James Bradbury is going to play. He's in concussion protocol. Some other injuries for the Eagles. We'll see if Fletcher Cox plays, some other guys. But right now, the spread is 7 in favor of the Eagles, and the over-under is 48.5.
I'll take the under on that one. And I mean, I want to take the Eagles to win. I want to say the Vikings could cover, but I just don't see it happening. I think the Eagles bounce back in this one. I think it's going to be a really lopsided win. So I'll take the Eagles, lay the points with them, and I'll take the under.
That's what happened a year ago. The Vikings went into Philadelphia to lose to the Eagles in week 2 with, you see yourself in pain, with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings getting blown out by 20. I don't see that this week. I think both teams are, even though the Eagles are coming off a win, they want to prove something, and so do the Vikings. I think it's going to be a closer game. I'm going to take the Eagles to win.
Yeah.
But I'll take the Vikings to cover, and I'll say the under hits.
Yeah. And it's funny, man. The talk of the Vikings last year, how could they win in so many of these close games? I don't know if all those close games will go in their favor this time. Losing to the Bucs is a bad loss. And I think it's funny that Baker Mayfield's showing off about, being aggressive and running the football. Isn't that the exact thing that tore his labrum and kind of ended his season with the Browns? Like
100%.
Like what was it that you heard from Anthony Richardson? He said like Trevor Lawrence gave him the advice, like, hey, you got all the skills, you made some unbelievable plays, but protect yourself because those hits add up in this league. It's like Baker Mayfield hasn't learned that. And it's been 6 years?
He'll never learn, man. He's just always going to be dangerous.
Yeah. Like I think players like to play for him, but you also saw in spurts like Baker Mayfield just looks like Baker Mayfield.
We'll see if Mike Evans wants to play for him or the Bucs that much going forward.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a guy that could definitely join the Chiefs in a couple weeks, I could see.
The Chiefs?
They need receivers. All right.
Good Lord.
You go poop. We'll see you guys on Saturday for just your pregame show, man, for week 2. We'll review the Thursday night game, and we'll discuss all season what could have been with Aaron Rodgers. No, we're going to move on.
Poop? I'm going to watch the MTV Video Music Awards, baby, the VMAs.
I haven't watched that in 20 years, probably.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to watch it. It's probably done by now.
JT's back, baby. Reunited with NSYNC.
Yeah. Everybody.
All right.
That's Backstreet Boys.
God, you fucked that up. Anyway, say what you always say, Steven. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, bye, bye.
Oh, my God.